Hi, welcome to Dr. Boyce and Nomalanga. I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World, and I'm here with Nomalanga Mushali Moses from HealthyBlackWoman.com. How are you doing today, Noma?
I'm doing great, boys. How are you?
I'm doing really well, and I have to start the day with a really difficult question for you. It's going to be a little embarrassing. You've been married for almost a decade now, right, or a little over a decade. Now, do you have proof that you actually got married? Do you have the marriage certificate? Because I
I
need to see a marriage certificate.
I have all kinds of proof.
Really? Are you sure?
I did the church, I did City Hall, and then I went all the way to Botswana and did a traditional wedding with a
Okay.
lot of witnesses. So I
Okay.
have lots of proof.
All right. Well, as long as we have proof, as long as you got the paperwork, because it looks like Nick Gordon didn't actually marry Bobbi Kristina. It looks like that was confirmed through People magazine that Bobbi Kristina and Nick that they claimed that they were married, but they actually weren't married. And it seems that this is going to have a lot of huge implications, not just for her estate, but also for her medical care. You know, um,
Right.
he probably can't even get into the room to see his wife, which I think is a little bit tough because he probably loved her. I mean, think about this: you get into a fight with your spouse, and then they kill themselves or try to, or something like this happens, and they're in the hospital on their deathbed, and you can't even go in and say goodbye. That's got to be pretty horrible. I understand the family being upset with him and whatever, but I don't like that at all. It doesn't make me comfortable.
Yeah. The thing about it is, one source who claimed to be pretty close to the family said that they were blaming him. That's the first thing. And then the second thing is that they had stopped him completely from being able to have any access to her. In other words, he can't see her, he can't visit her at the hospital, he's just being kept away. And that is sad. And maybe that's why marriage is so important.
Well, I mean, I guess it is. I mean, in terms of securing your legal rights, actually getting the paperwork and not just saying we're married because,
Right.
he doesn't have any rights as her husband or anything. And I think he deserves those rights because he was with her for a very long time. She walked around and saying how great of a husband he was, and maybe he wasn't the perfect husband, or maybe they didn't get along as well as everyone would hope. But for them to kind of blame him and shut him out and say you have no rights to any of this to be around the woman that you loved. I mean, it's almost like they're disrespecting their relationship,
Of
you
course
know.
they
And I think that's
yeah.
just I don't know. I'm not a fan of that. But Rosie Perez was she on the View, or is she on the
Without
View
the
or the Talk or the what are all they got all these talk shows now.
Well,
They got the
I
View, the
watch The
Talk,
View
and the
from
Real,
time to
right?
time.
Sorry.
I watch The View from time to time.
Okay.
And that's basically the one that seems to have been the longest running and the most successful. Then came I think it's on NBC,
The Talk,
The Talk. And then came The Real,
the
which
Real.
is the most recent one. I can't say
So
that
we
I've
need to
watched
start a show called The Chat.
The Chat, yeah.
Yes. We're going to be the chat, but please continue. Please continue chatting.
But Rosie Perez made an unfortunate gaffe, which is what most people are referring to it as, where she wanted to comment on Bobbi Kristina's situation. Let's call it a situation. And she said that the fact that Angela Bassett made a movie about her mother. I think she wanted to say that that could have been a contributing factor, but the words that she used were that Angela Bassett's biopic killed Bobby Christina. And as soon as she said it, she kind of stopped and says, "Oh, wow, that's an unfortunate, phrasing." And I'm going to rephrase and say, I do think that, and she said it another way.
It
But
wasn't unfortunate. It was stupid.
um,
I mean, that's
it's a
what it
Freudian
is.
slip. Maybe it's a Freudian slip.
No, that's an idiot slip. I mean, that's Freud. Don't we can't put that on Freud. I mean, no, no. In all seriousness, I mean, come on, Rosie. I mean, wow, that's
My,
huge.
my honest opinion about Rosie Perez is every time I've seen her acting, I've absolutely adored her. I think she herself is adorable, but she does not, in my opinion, belong on a panel of co-hosts as a person who shares their views and talks intelligently about them. She doesn't do well in that situation. Not to say she isn't intelligent, not to say her views aren't, important or significant. She, for me, has just not done well in that situation. And yesterday was a great example of why I'm saying that.
Maybe she's the new Sherry Shepherd, because
She is.
didn't Sherry say a lot of dumb things too?
Sherry said a lot of dumb things, but the thing about Sherry was she was very entertaining. Rosie Perez is not even entertaining. She just constantly says a bunch of stuff that makes you cringe. Whoopi Goldberg, who's the moderator, constantly finishes her sentences and reshapes what she's saying, and tries to help her because I think she likes her. And you feel like doing that when you know that a person's a good person and they have good intentions, but you can see that they're not making it.
Wow. Well, I wonder how that's going to work out for her. I mean, yeah, to put that on Angie Bassett is just whoa. I mean, you can say Angie Bassett. The friction about that biopic was just ridiculous. It's and for what I understand, it wasn't very good. Is that true? But or people just saying that?
It had mixed reviews. I watched it for myself. I enjoyed watching it more than I thought I would. And I think it gave a very balanced view of what we can only speculate about happened. Leading up to Whitney Houston's death, you always heard a lot about the couple and a lot of the blame and a lot of negative things were said about Bobby Brown. And Whitney Houston always seemed to be this person who had let this horrible person into her life, and that's why her life went downhill. That was the general narrative. But the movie gave a very balanced, I feel, a very balanced view of their life together.
Okay. Well, so maybe Bobbi Kristina was just offended because, maybe. I mean, I truly believe that when families get outraged about a film being made, they're mad. It's more of a financial thing, or you didn't take good care of us, so we're going to try to destroy what you created using Twitter and Facebook, and sometimes it works. I know it worked with the Aaliyah film. I mean, that just embarrassed the network, I think. And in the case of Whitney, I remember Bobbi was upset because she wanted to. I think she wanted to play her mother. Is that
Bobbi Kristina was upset? Yeah.
Yeah, she wanted to play her mother, which is like, really? I mean, woo! I mean that's a tall order, especially for someone who has not gotten lots of training as an actress. I mean, if anybody has seen when we at Your Black World held a casting call in Hollywood for a film project we were doing. We had 300 people apply. They were doing auditions all day. And believe me, we were not paying Hollywood money, and I was just stunned by how many really talented people there are in Los Angeles, and so I think this idea that you can jump to the front of the line because of who you're related to, especially on a multi-million-dollar project,
right?
That ain't gonna happen.
And be the lead role and be the focus of the thing. And unfortunately for her, she has no proven track record. I've never seen her act and do it well. I've never seen it. So that would have been too much of a gamble.
Yeah. I think sometimes, as much as we wish the best for Bobbi Kristina, I think unfortunately sometimes being born in, in certain circumstances can make you feel a little more entitled than maybe you should be. She was invited to go on stage with her mom when she was 3 or 4, and and I think I haven't really seen anything that really sort of said that she was this phenomenal talent. I've heard her sing. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't phenomenal. It wasn't overwhelming. And I think that, and I don't know anything about her day-to-day routine, but I do know that the people that are really the absolute best, that compete at the highest levels, they tend to be really hard workers at their craft. They're not out just partying and having fun and hanging out. They're working. Denzel said something that I really it was a simple remark, but I respected him for saying it. And he said, I don't even know what a celebrity is. He said, I'm not a celebrity. I'm a working actor. And that's because he works. When I saw him on Broadway, he was working. He came out sweating after it was over. And to me, that's what it takes to get to the top. And when I saw Bobbi Kristina's life, I didn't really see anything that indicated any of that to me. Either from the talent or through the day-to-day. I saw stories of her partying and hanging out, and smoking bongs and just hanging with her friends, and again, but it's no discredit to her. It just means, maybe certain things you're not ready for certain opportunities yet until you've really earned them. And but with that being said, I think the idea of blaming Angie Bassett for all of this, Rosie, just come on, just stop it. So all right, well, I'm done talking. I don't have anything else to say. I'll let you get the last word.
Yeah, I was also going to add when you were talking about actors, one of the things that I remember Will Smith also saying was he says, at one point, maybe he still is now, was one of the highest paid actors in Hollywood, at least as far as males go. And he's like, it's not because I'm the best actor. There's people who can do this better than me. He's like, but it's because I work the hardest. He says, I may not be the best, but I will outwork anybody. And he's getting the rewards. And this young lady may also need to take a chapter from Will's book or whatever it is, and do the same thing.
Well, that's if she gets better, and I hope that she does. I just hate all that's kind of happened here, and I just think at the end of the day, I always say this every chance I get. Watch out for drugs and alcohol. It doesn't lead to anything good, and I encourage anybody who's watching who has kids. I mean, you gotta preach that stuff to them, remind them, show them examples. I saw Lady Sings the Blues, and when I saw Diana Ross humped over the toilet after she was high on heroin, it just left an image in my head, and I said, I don't ever want to be like that, and I wouldn't want my mother to be in that position. I wouldn't want anybody I love to look like that, and I think if you got to scare it out of them, I think maybe that's what you got to do. But at the end of the day, I don't think anything good ever comes out of that stuff. Even casual consumption is very risky. So I know personally, I just avoid all of that in general. So thank you, Noma. I appreciate your time. And it sounds like Noma's muted, so I'm going to say goodbye for her. Well, I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World, and that is Noma Langa. The woman in the silent picture is Noma Langa Mushali Moses from HealthyBlackWoman.com. And until we meet again, please stay strong, be blessed, and be educated. We are gone. Peace.